This podcast was brought to you by the good people at Audible. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial right now at audibletrial.com/nothingbutstatic. Hello and welcome to Steven University. This week we'll be discussing some fan content, things that were suggested by you guys, and some of the things that I'd seen myself that were made by fans that are worth looking at. I'm so excited about this for two reasons, because once I gathered the stuff together, I was like, this is going to be some really interesting stuff to talk about, because we hit a spectrum with this content of things.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And then the second element of it is, I know the context of these videos because I know I can read the descriptions of them and I know why they exist and what the intention was. Chris watched all these blind, not knowing really anything about them other than getting to watch the videos themselves. And in one or two of those cases, I imagine Chris has some questions. So
yeah, I'll be honest, that made this really difficult because, like, I was watching a lot, like, I suppose the first one we're talking about, the Smothering, and especially the certainly Steven's rap career. It was like I was like trying to like fill in the behind the scenes stories as to how certain things were achieved and stuff.
I have for you some information regarding that. To be honest with you, a lot of it you can guess, and you probably, because I guessed a lot of it and then looked into it just to be sure. So yeah, let's. So a lot of it, I imagine, watching without context would have been a bit confusing. So just a quick sort of guide to what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about a fan-made episode of the show using this theoretical alternate version of events where Jasper, Lapis, and Peridot ended up being the crystal gems. It's called the Smothering. We're going to watch, or we have watched, and we're going to discuss. So this is basically Steven Universe by Jello Apocalypse. We're going to talk about the why you should be watching Steven Universe video, which is the video I made on this channel way before we were doing regular Steven Universe content, or before Chris was watching it, so he never watched it at the time. We're going to talk about Pearl's secret rap career and Steven's secret rap career from MK Atwood, and we're going to talk about Sung Atrocities as well, which at the end is just a very quick one that was also made by Comedic Interlude, who did the Smothering. So we'll start with the Smothering.
And I assume links below to all in the description.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, if you literally go to YouTube and type in the Smothering, it's the first video, and the same for why you should. So this is basically Steven Universe, Pearl's secret rap career, or Sung Atrocities. Just go to the channels of any of those people as well. MK Atwood, Comedic Interlude, Jello Apocalypse. They all do really good content, actually, and I want to again give another shout out to MK Atwood, who is just the best and the nicest. Like MK Atwood, who actually supplies a voice to the Smothering as well, but did the Pearls and Steven's secret rap career, and is also the host of the official Steven Universe podcast. She's like arguably the most famous Steven Universe fan, I suppose. I think she got an internship at Cartoon Network, which is why she got the I think that's what it was, and I think that's how she got the access to the cast and crew to do the podcast, the official one.
Yeah.
But she's been doing a great job on that podcast, and that's all happened. I think all happened as a result of her YouTube channel, which had a lot of Steven Universe-based content on it, some of which we'll be talking about a little bit later, specifically Pearls and Steven's secret rap career. But let's start at the top then. Let's start with the Smothering.
So, I mean, it's so... so I almost feel like I need to, explain. So basically, like Dan said, it's an alternative universe, and it's an episode that deals with Peridot's overprotective nature towards Steven, and Steven wanting more freedom. So, I mean, it's very impressive, basically, sort of watching it. It was obviously it's almost, what's that? Is it stop motion? Stop motion?
It's not quite stop motion, but yeah, the animation isn't like smooth like it is on the show.
Yeah, it's got that vibe. I don't mean that as a negative.
No, it's got like an animatic vibe to it.
Yeah, an animatic vibe. So I'm watching it and I'm like, oh wow, it's a full fan-made episode. That's crazy. And then like And then I think with Lapis being no, Jasper. Jasper's a good guy. That's the bit where I was like, huh? Like, what are we doing here? And then I was like, well, I assume it's set in some sort of alternative universe then.
Yeah.
I think it had a story arc. How often do you see fan stuff that close to looking and sounding like the show it's fan art, fan filming from, have like that much detail? I usually find it's either really detailed, intricate stories like fan fiction, and then I usually find when it's like fan episodes, it's not necessarily got the depth that this does, apart from like, I assume maybe there was some sort of crowdfunding to this. I'm
not sure about that, but it does say, the description does say made by fans, for fun because we love the show.
Yeah, I thought all the voice actors did a really good job. I thought the story, went from A to B and in all the right places. I was a bit confused, I'm not going to lie. There was the odd good joke about, like, when Peridot gets hits by the mud after a beat. The comic timing, considering the animatic style, was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it does have to be watched through the filter of this is fan content, because I think, does it hold up to the show? Well, no, because the show gets dozens and dozens of animators working on it, and many months and professionally put together. But as a piece of fan content, wow, this is I was really impressed by this. Everything from the voice work, which they do a really good job to sort of mimic the tones and styles of voice work that you get on the show. Like they're not trying desperately to mimic, which I think is good, because a bad impersonation is no good. Just be vaguely in that range voice-wise, and then do a good voice performance. I'd rather hear somebody who doesn't quite sound like the original person doing a good performance than somebody having their performance hampered because they're spending all their time focusing on doing a good impression. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I think that's what they got here. Like, MK Atwood actually does Steven's voice here, and she's not trying too much to copy Zach Callison. She's doing sort of like her interpretation of Steven, and I think it's working. It works really well. I thought the story made a surprising amount of sense, because it's essentially the idea of this sort of mum swap thing. It's fan fiction where they imagine that Steven Universe would be like if Peridot, Jasper, and Lapis were Steven's caretakers instead of Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl. And it's really interesting to sort of explore how different those people would be if they had ended up sort of being recruited by Rose. So the story seems to have played out the exact same way, but we're also going backwards a little bit to when Steven was slightly less sort of involved. It's back to the sort of like cheeseburger backpack days where he's hankering to go on missions. But there's this added caveat of, Peridot's sort of paranoia and sort of smothering approach is stopping her from letting him go on those adventures. And I really like, because what they've done here is they've found a really neat way to play it, which is sort of Lapis, having not been trapped in a mirror and not been tortured all that time under the water, is like this joyous character, and that's fascinating. Like, even in a couple of scenes, just to see Lapis sort of almost play the Amethyst role of being like the fun one, like, that's nuts. Like, I would have never predicted that. And then of course you see sort of Peridot playing the sort of like the Pearl role of being a little bit too sort of concerned, and then Jasper very much sort of fulfilling the role of Garnet. I just think it's really interesting to see how that would have played out. And I thought that, considering it's an unknown, the fact that it still feels really consistent with what it would be like. I feel like if Rebecca Sugar was given that task of how would it be if, these three gems had been the three that ended up guarding Steven, not the three we already do, she'd have probably come up with at least in terms of the way that they're acting. I think it would have played out almost exactly the same.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that's what I like about it. It doesn't go at any point. There's no knowing winks. There's no attempt to explain the differences in the backstory. There's no. They could have spent half the time making little references to, like, so and so was in love with Rose, like Pearl, or like we left the kindergartens on their own, and then you're like, oh, that's why they don't have Amethyst. You know what I mean? There was no. It was just. I like the fact that it was just, and it was as if it was literally an episode pulled from an alternative universe where you wouldn't be having to explain that stuff at this point.
100%, absolutely agree. So yeah, I think it's really well done. I think it's well animated. I think the artwork is great. I think the comedic timing is good. There are definitely a couple of really good gags, and they do some interesting stuff with the characters. I mean, what more could you want for fan content? It is up there, and I don't just mean that in the sense of for Steven Universe fan content, for just fan content in general. Like I can't recall seeing a whole episode of a show, and it is so close to feeling like an episode of the show, to the point where I'm almost like, man, maybe they should have just done an episode of the show like this. And like, I wonder how that could have turned out. I mean, they slightly gave themselves
get rid of the alternative universe stuff.
Yeah, well, I'm just curious to see how that might have turned out had they just tried to do a straight episode of the show, because if the quality of this is anything to go by, they've really got a good handle on this show. And it was put together by someone called Robin McCrae, who wrote and storyboarded it and directed it and stuff. But like, it really good work, just really good work. I'd be almost interested to see something else like this. I've seen a few people in the comments describe, like, when we asked about fan content and this was being suggested, there was a mixed response to this. Some people sort of describing it as a bit sort of cringy. You have to admire the feat. You have to, absolutely.
Like, sure, it's like, and like I love like you said yourself, the sentence, like the phrase you used was something like see it through the eyes of fan content. Well, fucking, why would you do anything else? It's fan content. Like, that's exactly how it should be seen. And when doing that, it's a marvelous piece of work and a brilliant achievement. From the people that made this. Look at the dodgy fan-filmed fan fiction for like shows like Doctor Who that's out there.
Doctor Who has some of the worst fan content of any fandom. It has some glorious stuff as well, but so many people don't understand the voice of the show well enough to do it. Whereas here, they've nailed it, in my opinion. And yeah, you're right there. So you might be right. There might be a couple of moments in this that are cringy. Some might not agree with their choice to do sort of an alternate universe version of it in general. You can criticize those choices all you like, but the fact of the matter is, whoever wrote this, the people who put this together, they understand Steven Universe and have created something really impressive with, I'm assuming, no money.
That's most apparent through the structure of it. It was structured and felt, yes, it's 2 minutes longer, but it was structured and felt like a Steven Universe episode.
100%. Yeah, it's couldn't recommend it enough.
So this is basically Steven Universe. I'd also recommend...
Before we do that, do you want to guess how many views on YouTube? This is a good game. Let's play this.
What, the Smothering?
Yeah.
3 million?
1.5. Not you. That was a closer guess than I imagined. 1.5 million, which is quite a lot.
And this is basically Steven Universe. I'm going to guess has more, so I'm going to guess 3 million again.
Oh, I haven't got that one in front of me, so I'm going to have to quickly look it up. Sorry, you got ahead of me. But you talk about it while I quickly check.
So it's basically like most of this is basically videos. I haven't seen too many of them, but I assume they're all like this, where they summarize the show but just get it slightly wrong.
5.7 million.
Oh, close again. So yeah, it's basically clips of the show with a voice narration, but like I say, the humor comes from the fact that they're just slightly off kilter in some aspects, but in others do that honest trailer thing of pointing out stuff that just makes you go, oh yeah, like in this one they say, why is Steven asking none of the basic questions such as this and this? That's got a real honest trailer vibe about it, but the kind of the twist on it is that it's summarizing the kind of the whole show, and it's slightly wrong in parts as well, but they do make some good points. It's really funny.
That's mostly how I look at it. It's like it's like an honest trailer, but with a slightly more like what's the word I'm looking for? With a slightly different tone in terms of where its jokes come from.
Yeah, like it says at one point about her fighting Hulk Hogan, and that's Jasper, who obviously looks a bit like Hulk Hogan, and Steven's powers, like spitting on people and stuff like that.
I think one of my favourite gags, other than where did this lion come from? One of my other favourite gags in this is when he said, it turns out, the big twist of 50 episodes in, where you find out when Garnet fights Hulk Hogan, and it turns out she's just two lesbians in an overcoat trying to sneak into an R-rated movie. And it's like, it's like such a strange interpretation of that sequence, but quite bizarrely both accurate and amusing, but also wrong, like all at once.
I liked it when they talked about Amethyst torturing Greg by turning into Rose, and they talked about Ronaldo nearly killing someone. It's unfortunately we're spoiling the gags here, but basically, yes, absolutely, go ahead and watch this.
Yeah, it's only a minute and a half of your life, and it's quite funny, and it's really well animated as well. Actually, it's all bespoke, sort of original animation, and it just looks great. I really like the Jello Apocalypse style. They've also done videos for Gravity Falls and Adventure Time, and my other personal favorite, which is Pokemon. If you've ever played a Pokemon game, that video just nails it. They just get everything that you expect to see from a Pokemon game. Sort of like, it's hard to explain, but it is very, very good. And also the creator of Jello Apocalypse, this video, especially This is Basically Steven Universe, or So This is Basically Steven Universe video, makes it very clear that he feels Amethyst is by far the worst character. Do you agree with that? Is that harsh?
I didn't particularly get that vibe. He just kind of picked upon a few moments of her.
No, he literally says at
why
the
you're
end.
Saying it.
No, it literally ends with him saying, "Even if you're the worst," and then 1 second. There's so many things playing.
I couldn't remember that, so.
Okay, so it literally ends on him doing like a joke about how Amethyst, or Armrest as he calls her, is the worst.
Well, I don't know why. I don't know why you. If you had such concrete facts, I don't know why you asked me whether I was getting that vibe, Dan.
No, I asked you if you agree.
Yeah, but you're now stating it like it's fact. What do you? I can't disagree with fact, can I? In fact, I didn't agree, and you've just shot your facts in my face.
No, I'm saying, do you agree with his opinion that Amethyst is the worst? I don't understand why you think you're being...
I thought you were saying, did I agree that
you're just being so dumb. No, I'm asking if you agree that Amethyst of those characters is the worst.
No, I don't think so at all.
Who is the worst character?
None of them. They're all my friends.
It's Ronaldo, isn't it?
Ronaldo's the worst. Yeah, absolutely, Ronaldo's the worst.
Anyway, so yeah, I don't have a huge amount more to say on that one, unless you do.
No, not at all. Why? I don't think any of them are the worst. I couldn't list one of Pearl, Garnet, or Amethyst or Steven as being the worst.
No, I know. He just seems to
Paradox
really have a problem with Amethyst in that video.
I disagree with him. I'd take back my recommendation.
You...
Yeah. Right, so then it's what a great YouTube channel we're coming to next.
Is it? What's it called?
No. Why you should be watching Steven Universe. It's a shorter version of this podcast with just Dan. I have to say, there's some very funny moments in there from the host. I enjoyed your wink, for example. And some other bits, some other gags I won't spoil, having us just reviewed a 2-minute video and spoiled all the gags in 5 minutes. So yeah, this is on our channel. I think Dan's very, very funny in it. And I think it's an interesting exercise to watch like a shorter, snappier, edited version of essentially the thoughts you have outlaid on this very podcast. So if anyone's not watched that, I would recommend it.
Now you're sort of, entrenched in the show. I think you're further in now than I was when I made that video.
Yeah, that's the impression I got, given the clips you've chosen and the things you've said.
Yeah. Because it looks like I uploaded that in 2015, and we're watching episodes now that have obviously gone up in 2017. So, yeah, we're quite far ahead of this. So, watching it, was there anything that you like disagreed with, or anything that you were like, you think my opinion shifted on since?
No, I think it was quite. I agree with everything, but I agree with everything with all the episodes we've seen. I think it was. I'd be intrigued to see what episode had aired up until that point, and whether, like, you clearly knew what the show was and knew how deep it went a bit earlier than perhaps I got there.
Right.
But I think everything you said was absolutely right. I don't know if I'd have as vehemently agreed with you at that point. But that's, if the question is, do I agree with everything you said? Yeah, absolutely.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And then it, of course, ends
I'm
with
gonna guess.
me embarrassing myself.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's a bit like, it takes you 3 minutes to start actually talking about the show, and then you wrap up, and I'm like, fucking hell, there's still 3 minutes. What's he gonna do now? And then, like, you start, and I'm like,
I start talking about the show within about a minute, so shush.
No, I think it's about 3.
I've got it in front of me. The clips for the show start at 1 minute in, so...
I don't think you're really into it until 3 minutes down. But you definitely stop at like 6 minutes.
Yeah, the video is 9.
Yeah,
but that's because I had a song.
You got the song. I like the song. I think you're too harsh on yourself. You hadn't watched the show. It's perfectly reasonable. I think you were too harsh on yourself and didn't need to do that embarrassment. But equally, I don't think your version of the song is embarrassing. So
it's not as... I think it's funny. It's really interesting to see, because it's interesting to listen to me do the song back then when I clearly just bought my ukulele like weeks before.
Yeah.
I'd compare it
felt
to like how I did the theme tune to the show on this podcast about a year later, and was so much better. Like the progression of my ukulele playing is actually really interesting, and it's nice that I've got like a record of me when I literally was first learning. It was like the very first song I learned, and to go from that to like where I am today, I think I've gotten a lot better at it, which is good.
And now you whip out your ukulele like, a porn star whips out his business. And so I think it feels like, when you're like at uni or something and you get drunk and you then like you pretend to be drunker than you are, so you can hint to someone that you fancy them, but you're not really that drunk, but it's so that you can go, oh, I was just drunk, I'm really, really sorry, the next day. Or when you get drunk and you say something you want to say sober, but you say it drunk so you can hide behind the fact that you were drunk. This felt like you were like, oh, I'm just doing this to embarrass myself, so that if it was embarrassing, you were covered. But if it wasn't, you looked fine.
There you go. Maybe.
That's
I don't know. It's hard to go into the thoughts of 2 years ago down, 3 years ago down. Jesus. It was sort of I'd got the ukulele. The video makes it seem like I got the ukulele to do that. That isn't true. I was interested in getting the ukulele ahead of that.
But I suspect you got a ukulele because of Steven Universe. Is that not fair?
It's definitely like I'd for years been looking for an instrument that was easy to play and learn, so I could learn an instrument, but nothing too technical or demanding. And I'd picked up a guitar and found it a little complicated. And I'd gotten okay at playing the piano or keyboard, and then again found some of the more advanced techniques just a bit outside of my reach. So for years I've been looking for a simple instrument, and a few times people had said, "Oh, the easiest instrument to learn is the ukulele. It's only 4 strings, simpler," and that had sunk in at some point. But then I was like, well, what am I going to play on a ukulele? The Lava Song from the short from Pixar? Like, what else do I play on a ukulele? Steven Universe definitely was the thing that pushed me into learning it and buying it, because there were suddenly songs played on a ukulele that I wanted to learn how to play. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
And it's turned out since that there are a lot of songs that are not initially written on ukulele you can translate, and I'm having a lot of fun doing that. Like, figuring out how to play other completely, tracks that was said were never written that way, and transposing them over and doing them on the ukulele instead. So yeah, Steven Universe was definitely was definitely the push, because it was
The push for
suddenly there were songs that were ukulele based that I would want to
latch
learn.
onto. Yeah, that's cool. I'm gonna guess. I mean, it's our channel. Well, it's definitely not got the numbers that I don't think it's got the numbers that early episodes of this podcast has, or numbers that on the Office video. I reckon around 800.
Look at that. 828.
Oh, so close.
How many likes?
2.
48. Suck on that.
Oh, really? Oh, that's not bad.
I think most people were just going yeah, it's a show I like. Click.
Did it get many comments?
It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 comments, Chris.
Oh, fair play. Fair play. Pearl's rap career and Steven's rap career are works of art. It's genius. It felt like I was watching a joke spiral out of control in a brilliant way, but in an amazing way.
Yeah.
Because I got to watch them all at once. I just got to watch this thing unfold and clearly get bigger and bigger.
Yes.
And I don't know why you chose the version you chose, but for clarification, I didn't watch 14 minutes of the first one on loop.
That's what was uploaded. That's what MK Atwood originally uploaded.
Really, all 14 minutes? Because it was called Looped, I assumed that someone else had looped it.
No, I added the word loop so you wouldn't watch all 14 minutes. But there isn't a version that's just a 20-second version of it or whatever. But obviously,
wow.
So she did that first. So basically, for some context, the actress that voices Pearl, Dee Dee Magno Hall, is in a band that was big in the 90s, whose name I've forgotten off the top of my head. That's going to do my head in. Oh, that's going to really annoy me. What were they called? The Party. They're called The Party. And they were big in the 90s, and then they sort of stopped doing music, and they all went their separate ways. And then recently, since 2015-ish, they sort of came back together and did a couple of tracks, and I think there's an album due. Something like that. I know they toured recently, which is one of the reasons there's a little cameo from the group at the end of one of the videos. But The Party did a song more recently called, I think it's called LA or something, and in it there's a little rap from Dee Dee Magno Hall of Pearl fame. So what MK Atwood did was made the joke that Pearl was doing that rap. I made a little video that's Pearl dancing and sort of weird, sort of trippy Steven Universe-based visuals to that song.
Is her slapping her ass from the show, or is that something she's managed to edit? Or
you know what? That is a really interesting question. I would love to find out, because that is one of the
below if you know.
Yeah, because that is one of the stronger visuals, isn't it?
And it's also one they keep going back to. It's not me being a Pearl fan, Lapis till the end, as people know. But it's such a distinctive visual that they keep referencing throughout the other videos.
That's really true.
Because I loved the simplicity, the beautifully edited versions, Steven finds out and Pearl finds out. And then, I love the cliffhanger of before everyone finds out, of Peridot rushing up to this thing. But her running through the fields, I can't remember that from the show. So that's the point where I'm Jesus, this is going beyond. This is clearly become something in the gap. I don't know how closely all that was released to each other, but I'm well, there must have maybe been a bit of a distance and it gained some sort of momentum. And then the fucking cast appear, and they appear to actually get the dude who plays Steven for its sequel. And I'm so is Steven's rap career even fan fiction anymore?
It's a really good point. Once Zach Callison is supplying his voice to it, the question does become.
And they were animated. Was Steven's rap career still? Was any of that footage created for that? Because it certainly seemed to be. If it's overdubbed on,
I think it's overdubbed.
Episodes,
I think they've just chosen really clever clips. It's really well done, isn't it?
That's so beautifully done.
It really is
stunning.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think you're right about it spiraling, and it helped that obviously she got to then like be in like Cartoon Network, like and obviously she had access to some of this stuff, and like just having Dee Dee show up in one of the videos, then having obviously Zach Callis and Dee Dee both help with voices in the one after it, like, is mad. It really is mad. And I mean, it's hard to express how sort of how this blew up, because it really was, I think, it was a bit of a surprise to many of us.
So were you a fan at the time then? Did you witness this blowing up?
Yeah, basically. I mean, I saw the first one, and then I didn't realize that it had gone beyond that until like the one that really like went crazy was when she got to Everyone Finds Out About Pearl's secret rap career, because that one actually had Dee Dee in it, and that's obviously like you put featuring Dee Dee Magno Hall in the title. And because, like, for example, you'll notice the if you look at these online, that their view counts go down. So the Pearl Buster rap for 15 minutes, which is what's titled the original rap, is only got 1 million views. Only 1 million views, says the YouTube channel that struggles to get a few hundred for their weekly podcast. Steven Finds Out then drops again, 900,000. And then it's 500,000 for Peridot Finds Out. And like it just goes on like that, like down and down and down. And then you get to the Everyone Finds Out, and it's 3.1 million views. Because I mean, clearly that one like hit a nerve of some sort. And then of course you get to Steven's.
It's so well edited though.
They're amazing.
So well edited.
They are really, really good. And then of course Steven's secret rap career, nowhere near that yet, but it's late last year, so really you'd think they'd be up there by now. Only a couple of 100,000 each, for some reason, which is a shame. They didn't blow up quite the same way. And to be honest, I think it's a combination of footage that's been put together. I think most of it's from the show, but there are some fan bits as well, where people have like animated stuff to go in there, and she's borrowed, from everything to create the visuals. But it was amazing watching them and sort of going like, oh, that's from that episode. That's a really clever use of that clip from that episode.
Yeah, like I recognise the stuff where Greg starts putting the song together and stuff.
Yeah, there's loads of that
stuff with sour cream DJing and stuff like that.
Stephen going into the room.
I think yeah, there are some that are more obvious than others, but there are some that you just genuinely feel real. It's so well edited. The only fan content I can remember being edited as well, and I don't know if it's still up because I looked for it recently. You can probably find it somewhere, but someone edited footage from seasons 1 to 3 of The Office to Nelly's "Hot in Here," and it was just so beautifully edited. Like every moment was picked perfectly. Like my favorite fan videos to watch, and I don't, in terms of fan montages, are where there are just some fan the worst in my opinion the least enjoyable are where it's just kind of random footage to a random song and fine. Especially when like you can hear talking but you can't hear what they're saying, which there's a bit of it in our top 10 moments videos. But anyway, then the impressive is when the clips chosen reflect the lyrics of the song. That's cool. That's really cool. That's awesome. They're enjoyable to watch. The really time consuming and hats off, give them a clap, brilliant ones are when not only do the clips match the lyrics to the song visually, but the movements featured within the clips also match the rhythm of the song. They match if a guitar suddenly goes, then there's a movement on screen that somehow, someone waves their hand in such a way that it looks like they waved it to the timing of meow. That's awesome when that happens, and that kind of happens in this, and it happens in that Office Hot in Here video as well. It's
one thing to get like clips that really match up to a song, but to be able to string together a narrative that actually works with existing footage is way more impressive.
It's nuts.
My opinion. That's why these particular videos are so good, because for those who don't remember or haven't seen these, the sort of story is that Pearl's had this secret rap career. Steven finds out about it, and then it becomes a series of videos about everyone else finding out and their reactions. My favourite of which being when MK Atwood uses the footage of Peridot obsessing over Camp Pining Hearts, but instead makes it her obsessing over Pearl's rap.
Yeah, it's really good.
And it is just really well done. It's just really well done.
I saw another one once where it was a Harry Potter fanfic, and it was set in the future, and they'd used footage of the shy girl who wants to dance with the really good-looking guy, but has a brother in hospital from Love Actually. And those two really do look like an older version of Daniel Radcliffe and Ginny at the time, because I think only 2 films or something had been released. So
that's amazing.
That was a good one. I loved the most enjoyable experience by far watching these was Pearl's secret rap career and Steven's secret rap career.
Yeah, I know a credit again for actually writing a rap for Steven. In the
a really good rap.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
it's hard to. It is hard to beat that. That is. I mean, I think with all the stuff we talked about, I think between the Smothering and
our video,
secret rap career, it's kind of hard to think that there's anything going to come out of fandom that's going to really top both of those. They're both doing very different things, but they're both doing it so well.
Yeah, definitely. But not to take anything away from our final one, the kind of barbershop shop quartet version of "It's Over," isn't it? I really enjoyed that. And I mean this as a compliment. It was a reinterpretation of that song that made me want to go back and rewatch that song. And it really kind of highlighted some of the nuances and some of the amazing lyrics in that song. I do have to ask, did they add things? Because there's a bit where they're just like, Rose is dead, Rose is dead. Quite
a lot of lyrics are added in this version.
Yeah, right, okay.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of silly and like... This is actually by the same person who did The Smothering.
Oh wow, fair play. And the animation of her slowly transforming into someone from a barbershop quartet was really good.
Yeah, it's really well done.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot to say on that one. I had a feeling that one was going to be a quick one, but it is worth seeing. It's I think it's just literally It's Over, Isn't It cover sung Atrocities, and it's just like a kind of like reinterpretation of It's Over, Isn't It, but sort of barbershop quartet-y, but also kind of like intentionally sort of quite loose. Like it's like intentionally not like over polished. But yeah, it's like really well done. I thought it's funny because it's kind of like weirdly silly. Like it's like good. Someone sat down with very very random idea of a barbershop quartet version of that song and ran with it. Yeah, it's kind of its brilliance lies in just its weirdness.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And it's done very well. It's a cover worth checking out. Should we reveal, just to give you guys more time to suggest stuff? We're actually recording this after we've recorded the bomb. So should we tease our bomb episodes, Dan? I think it's fair to say there's an episode where I nearly stop a crime.
I think that's a generous interpretation of the episodes of what are coming up next week. So yeah, so we basically we wanted to give you guys time to get us the suggestions in for fan content. So we ended up recording the bomb that's going out next week prior to recording this fan content episode, and In terms of teasers, yeah, Chris thinks he nearly stops a crime.
There's an episode which descends into headphone chaos.
Yeah, there's some headphone
quite
chaos.
Badly.
There are opinions on the episodes of that bomb. There's a tease for you.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of trying to work out what's going on with it.
We potentially get ourselves into some legal trouble playing a TV theme tune instead of our own theme tune at the end of an episode.
Do we? I can't remember that. Oh, wait, is that the Australian show?
Nope. You're on the right track, though. That's how we get on to talking about the Australian show. And then...
Oh, I know. It's yeah.
Yeah, no spoilers, I suppose, for the podcast, but this is some of the weirdness you've got coming up in next week's bomb. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you literally play the theme tune to another show, don't you?
Yes. And then what's amazing is the episode after you hum that theme tune and go, could we get in trouble for that? And I'm like, and then you go, oh no, it's just me singing it. And then I said, yeah, if we're going to get in trouble for anything, it'll be for the episode yesterday where we actually played the song. So yeah, there's some...
but stick with it. Despite all that madness, I think there's some good discussion on the episodes as well.
Yeah. Well, it's a really exciting bomb, and Chris has some interesting thoughts. There you go. So we teased. We never get to tease episodes, Chris. It's exciting.
No, because
usually they haven't happened yet.
Doing it, and are we due? Do we do? Oh God, do we do a Q&A? We're not gonna we're not going to promise it anytime soon, because by doing that we need to do some catching up. But do we do a Q&A every year or every season? Because if it's every season, we need to do another one.
There's been no hard and fast rule because we're 4 seasons in. We've only done 2 Q&As. So
actually, yeah, that's a good point. And also, actually, we better a Q&A seems a good one to save in case we catch up.
Yeah, it'll be a little while till we do a Q&A, I think that the most... I don't know what more people would have to ask of us. Although I'm still looking for suggestions for any video games to play. Now I've finished Save the Light, because the last Save the Light video goes up... Sugar, that goes up tomorrow from the perspective... No, Saturday. So this goes up... Thursday if you're in the States, Friday in the UK...
Yeah, and again, we're recording this the night before, so apologies if there is any form of delay on that.
There shouldn't be. I'd be surprised. I think, yeah, so if anybody... so the very last episode of my Dan Plays Save the Light series goes up on Saturday, so tomorrow, I suppose-ish, or 24 hours, 40 hours-ish from the release of this. If anyone has any suggestions as to what I should play through next, really tempted to play through the Portal games again, just because I really love those games. Or if people want to see me play
quite
through...
a commitment, that one, isn't it?
No, the first game is only about an hour to play, and the second game is only about 5-6 hours to play. So it'd actually be shorter than the Save the Light series, because there's only been the 2 games, and they weren't exactly long. And also, once you know the answers to the puzzles, the gameplay length drastically shortens. Like, I remember the first time I completed the original Portal game, I just was looking around in every corner and just trying to absorb all of it. And the second time I played it, it was 1/3 of the time, because I already knew the answers to the puzzles, so I just ran through it.
I mean, suggestions below, but surely I'm assuming it's more fun to watch you play something you've never played before, isn't it?
Well, that Chris, would be debatable, because it depends on the level of frustration. As those who've listened to recent episodes or watched recent episodes of Dan Plays Save the Light will know that when it doesn't go my way, Chris, anger ensues.
Okay.
So there was a series of episodes where the game glitched and caused me to have to repeat sections, and I got very angry about it. And there was a point when I was just like, this is just bollocks. This is shit. Who programmed this? This is fucking terrible. And then it's really funny because I go back to the first episode. I'm like, look at all the animation. The people who made this obviously love the Steven Universe license. You know, they really did. You know, they love the show. You just cut to me 3 episodes from the end. Go, this is fucking shit. What morons programmed this? It's both really embarrassing and also very, very true of my legitimate, genuine reactions to the game. It took 29 episodes, each at roughly an hour, for me to 100% Steven Universe Save the Light. If I'd just played through the story, I'd have done it in half that, but spent a lot of time running around getting all the fucking doodads and collecting all the, skibbity bops and all the, just doing all the bullshit that they make you do in a video game to fill out the time. collecting random nonsense.
Yeah.
Or
cool.
make it look like there's a hidden object in an area, Chris, and then when you go there and you spend ages looking, and then you find out all they want you to do is open a door.
That feels like a very specific example, Dan.
It's a very specific example. The fucking door counted, guys. The door counted. Why did the door count? If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out the Save the Light series. If you don't know what I'm talking about, but also don't care to do that, I can't help you.
Yeah. Fair enough.
But yeah, suggestions for what to do next.
The
games I've been thinking about doing are the Portal games, the newest Resident Evil game, because I haven't played that one yet, and I heard it was really good, Resident Evil 7. And a game that I played for a bit, and then for some reason never got around to completing. I'd have to start again, but Alien Isolation, I was really enjoying it, but I just never got around to finishing it. So I had to start from scratch, but a playthrough of that would be kind of fun. Oh, and I'm also tempted just to do Slime Rancher, just because I don't think enough people know about or play Slime Rancher, and it's an amazing, amazing game. So maybe I thought about doing Slime Rancher too. But yeah, suggestions underneath if anyone has anything they want me to play through. I mean, to be honest with you, based on the figures for the Save the Light series and the amount of time I had to put into editing them, probably not going to happen just because it's probably not worth it. I suppose it depends on the interest level, but yeah, we'll see. Suggestions anyway, and then I'll see what happens. Cool.
There we go. Right, we'll see you on Monday.
Yeah, for the final
first
bomb.
Part of the bomb. Yeah.
Isn't that sad, Chris?
Bomb.
Last
I'm
bomb.
excited. It's very sad.
Unless,
an actual Cartoon Network
do bomb.
more bombs.
Yeah, which doesn't seem likely. They seem to have gone for like event releases now rather than bomb releases, which is a shame.
Yeah, which we've talked about before. It would burn through episodes to do it that way. So
yeah, true. Cool. Well, there you go. That's everything for this episode. Hope you enjoyed hearing us talk about fan content. If you have any other fan content things we missed or didn't, stick them in the comments, and maybe we'll do another one of these in future with some more stuff. If you haven't seen any of the videos suggested, if I remember, I'll link them in the comments. But if not, you can just Google any of the names of the videos we talked about. They'll come straight up. They're all quite popular. You shouldn't have too much trouble finding them at all. I'm covering myself for the very likely event that I forget to link them properly.
Fair enough. Well, yeah. Well, again, it is a short time. It is a short time in between us recording this and uploading it. So
yeah, 24 hours. If you're listening to this as we've put it up, we recorded it about 24 hours ago, which is the closest to release we've ever done for a Steven University.
Yeah.
It's pretty mad.
Yeah, it's too close for comfort.
Yeah, just we mixed our timings up. That's all. We were delaying it intentionally, and then there was a scheduling cock up. It's also that we've had to record the statics this week. That didn't help.
Yeah, and we've had to do. It would have been silly to do this mid bomb, so we had to get the bomb out of the way, and yeah, it's fine.
Actually, that's one thing's worth promoting quickly while we're here, and we promote it, I think, in the bomb next week as well. But Statics, it's our annual TV award show we do on our other podcast, Nothing But Static. Where we both bring nominations for each category to the table and then debate them to decide which one gets the award. It's good fun. Check it out.
Yeah, so best drama, best comedy, all the ones you'd expect, best performance. There's a best animated show. So what will Dan pick, and what did I end up having to argue? Bearing in mind that our rules are, we do it every year, so it has to be between June and June of the year just gone. And the episodes we're viewing of Steven Universe do not fall into that category. So I couldn't nominate Steven Universe, so check out the statics to see what I did nominate, bearing in mind my aversion to animation.
There you go. So, with that said, that is everything for this week. I've been Dan Doolan.
I've been Chris Billingham.
And we'll speak to you next week for our final ever bomb, starting with an episode titled Lion 4 Alternative Ending.